What is up, you guys, and welcome to the Creative Hunter podcast. Thanks for joining today. This is your host, as always, Logan Romney. Today's going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast, kind of just like a mid-season recap. It is mid-October right now, so we are just in the middle of all these hunts going on in the fall. And I want to just go over, recap kind of the last couple of weeks, what I've been up to, fill you in on what I'm going to be doing, and then just kind of um, show you guys some of the talk about some of the gear that I've been using and really liking so far this season, and some of the new stuff that I've picked up as the season has gone on. So, um, right now in Idaho, it is like the first weekend of rifle deer season just started. So the hunt started on the 10th. Today, this podcast will be coming out on the 15th, so 5 days ago. The rifle deer hunt started in Idaho. I have a tag and my wife has a tag, so we were both out there. So the last couple of weeks I have been scouting a bunch. About the last week of September, it was the last week of the archery hunt. I had a couple of days to go out and do some scouting and also carry my bow around. And I went and checked a couple spots that were like really on the top of my list for spots that I've seen nice bucks before. Um, One of the spots is a spot that traditionally I've killed a buck out of, or two bucks out of, and a couple of my family members and friends have killed a couple bucks out of there. So I wanted to go check it out, and I got there the first morning. Got there, I pulled into camp at night, slept at night, and got up early. Hiked in before light, so like hiked in the dark. Got to the glassing knob like 20 minutes before it was even glassable. That's kind of what I normally do, just because as soon as that starts to get light, there's already deer out feeding in the dark. You just can't see them. So I got up there on the glassing knob and I started to get light. I just saw some does hanging around, and then I picked out a buck, and he was right in a little pocket on the edge of timber. On the there's like a clearing in the middle of a big timbered hill, and he was right in the bottom corner of that, just feeding. And he was super like weary. He was looking around every once in a while, pick his head up, but then he would feed pretty long, and then he would pick his head up again. And I watched him for like about an hour. Great buck. He's a solid 4 point. He's got a little kicker. Um, and I'd probably put him about 28 inches wide, like he's really wide. And I would probably score him around in the 170s. I'm pretty good at getting a pretty good grasp on score, and so I probably would not put him into the 180s, but definitely in the 70s. And awesome buck, just great, like all around deer, wide, boxy frame, fairly tall. Um, and took a bunch of video of him. And what was crazy is like I was looking away and I saw a guy walking down the bottom of the canyon where this of this between me and this deer. And I know for a fact from hunting this area a bunch that where that deer was at, he could not see the trail, but he must have heard something because as that dude was walking down the trail, that deer looked down and was like super keened in on what was going on down there, and he dipped into the pine trees. And so he was only out for probably 30 or 45 minutes before he dipped away. And I glassed that hillside again that evening and did not find him again. Um, I debated going and checking some other spots because I only had one more day left. Um, but it was archery season, so I knew if I found this buck and I could find him and bed him in a good spot, I could put a stock on him. Um, but I wasn't. I didn't know first of all if he would be there because I didn't see him that evening. And even if I did find him, like, should I stalk him? Because the rifle hunt was going to start 2 weeks after I was doing this archery hunt. But I decided he's a solid buck. I'm just going to go after. I'm going to go in there in the morning. If I can glass him up and bend him down, I'm going to try to put a stock on him and kill him with my bow. Um, so I got up there the next morning, super early, before light, glassed for a long time, and I did. And that buck, I think he was just bedded down all morning until like 9:30, and then all of a sudden he was feeding through the trees, and I watched him feed for about an hour and a half till around 11, like 10:45, 11. And he never came out into the open, but I positioned myself to where I could see decently into the pine trees where he was hanging out. So I would just see him occasionally, like passing through pine tree patches and coming out for a little bit. If I had a rifle that was 450 yards away, I could have smoked him like all day long, as he kind of fed through the trees. And then eventually, around like I said, 11 o'clock, he bedded, and crazy enough, I could see it bedded in the trees, and it was super thick. Um, but I could see him right there, so I was like, hey, well, it's like 11. He's gonna be bedded there for a while with the way that the this mountain is and everything. Like, he has shade all day, so I was like, I'm gonna go stalk him. Gotta give it a shot. So um, I did a lot of prep before I dropped off the mountain. So I took pictures of the hillside. I took pictures of where it was at on Onyx. I looked at all the terrain. I looked at like trees. There was a big dead tree that I knew he was close to, and I could actually see it on Onyx in on the map. So I kind of just like marked on Onyx where I thought he was at, where the best place was to stalk him, where the wind's going to be, and did like all my homework before I dropped off that mountain. That way, when I got over there, I knew it was going to look different, but at least I would have a few different ideas of like, hey, this buck's probably right in this little pocket here, and I just need to figure out how to get in there. Um, and the buck's in a super thick timber spot, so it's not a spot that I can like see him for a long time. As soon as I drop off that hill, he's gone. I don't know if he's gonna get up and move. I don't know if he's gonna still be bedded there, and even if he is bedded there, there might not even be a shot where he's at because it might just be too thick. But I dropped down and I got around on top of him, got the wind right. The wind was pretty good. It was kind of going back and forth though, but it was going up and down the hills, and I was coming at this deer at a straight across the hill, and the prevailing wind was actually coming towards me from the deer. So I kind of felt like I had a pretty good wind as I was going in here. It was kind of switching back and forth uphill, and that prevailing wind was coming towards me. So I just started creeping, and once I got within, I thought about 100 yards. I dropped all my stuff, grabbed my stockasins, threw them on because I wanted to be super quiet. And what the deal was, which was kind of it was kind of cool. There was a big patch of quakies I had to get through to get to where he was at. And what would happen is every time a big gust of wind would come through, they'd come through for like 10 to 15 seconds at a time. All the leaves on the quakies would get super loud. So it was perfect for me because I would just wait for the wind to blow, the leaves would be loud, I would start creeping a little closer, and I was glassing every like 5 steps or less, and just trying to find antlers sticking up or this deer. I did not want him to see me before I could see him. And as I got down and pretty close, I eventually spotted him, and he was across a small clearing from me, and he was about 20 yards into the trees from the clearing. So from me, he was probably about 60 yards um, when I first saw him, and he was bedded with his butt facing me, but he had his head on a swivel the whole time. He was looking every direction. And the wind was kind of loud, so he was a little bit spooky because of that. And um, so I I knew I needed to get closer because the issue was there was kind of a little gap that I could shoot through to hit vitals, but there were some branches going across um, in a couple like weird spots, and I didn't feel super comfortable with a 60-yard shot where he was at. Um, I had two sets of broadheads in my quiver. I had a set of fixed blade, four blade broadheads, slick tricks, and then I also had a set of they're the expandable sever broadheads. I shot my bull elk with the sever broadheads, and my archery mule deer in August with the severs, and they were awesome. But I knew if there's a couple branches the branches were close to the deer, so I knew like if I hit a branch with the with a mechanical broadhead, it was going to be way worse than if I just nicked a branch with the fixed blade. So I threw a fixed blade on, started creeping closer. I got to a point where I think I was about 45 yards away from this buck, and I was just I was like crawling on my hands and knees with a bush between me and him, get as close as I could. And when I got to that bush, I peeked up and I'm looking at him, and the wind started to get a little bit funny at this point, which is just weird. I think I just got within that, got close enough to where that wind was swirling, just enough to where he barely might have picked up some scent. And as soon as I felt that wind kind of swirl, there was something like a twig broke like 30 yards below me. I don't. It was probably just like the wind knocking a branch over or something, and that buck busted out of there. I just heard like I wasn't I was looking at him, and I could see him like perk his nose up like he was smelling something and turn his head looking around. So I just kind of like looked away, kept my eyes down. I heard that branch break, and then I just heard him like get up and bound away. I was like, oh, dang it, like so close. I was so close to getting an arrow in that buck. Um, so he was gone. Um, I went back the next week. So between the archery season and the rifle season, I went back, scouted, and tried to find that buck, and he didn't. He was nowhere to be found. Couldn't find him. He wasn't in where he was. But I thought, like, surely this is a super safe spot. Like, nobody hunts this little pocket. Like, surely he'll be back here during the rifle hunt. So, um, rifle hunt comes around. I get out a day early. My wife and I are up there. I told her she could shoot the buck if she wanted to because I want to find a really nice buck for my shoot with a rifle. And this buck is a stud buck, and I would probably shoot him, but my wife was with me, and so I was probably going to let her shoot him if this buck came out. And we glassed the hillside for 2 days out of the three that we were there during the opening weekend, and buck did not show. We didn't see any bucks the first 3 days of the season, which is a bit of a bummer. We saw a ton of elk though, and what's really cool is my wife has an elk tag that starts the day this podcast comes out on Tuesday, and in the same area. So we have a bunch of elk pegged down. We're hoping to get her on a bull this week, and then we have all week to hunt for her tag and also for our deer tags. I uh, I still am like kind of pretty optimistic that that buck is going to show back up eventually. Um, Everyone I talked to said the first few days of the season in that area that I just didn't see anything. That the deer, we all think that they're just hunkered down a ton. Because I saw a few bucks before the season started, but kind of as it started, lots of people started getting out in the hills, and the deer just kind of disappear. The spot that I hunt is kind of a little pressure, it's a little pocket where when the deer get pressured, they go to this spot because, like I said, it's hard to hunt. It's timbered country. Not a lot of people hunt it. And so I'm going to definitely be checking back there again this week and seeing if any bucks have shown up in that area. I also kind of scouted a few different spots that look really good that I don't think a lot of people look over. I scouted them like late morning. So a lot of the deer had already bedded down, but I found a few does hanging out in those areas. So there's definitely deer in there. Um, so pretty stoked for this week to see how it goes. Just a bit of a bummer we didn't find anything out and about the first few days of the season, but it kind of is what it is. We have a lot of time to hunt. I'm not really worried about it. I'd really love to get my wife on a decent buck and a nice bull this week. So that's kind of the goal, is just to get her on something. She's never killed a big game animal, so it'd be fun to see how if we can get her on something. I've been filming all of my hunts this year, so everything that all these stories I've told, except for my archery elk, I did not film that one, but my archery deer hunt, working on editing that one this fall. And then this rifle deer hunt and elk hunt, I'm also filming everything while we're out there. So it's going to be pretty cool. Going to get some films out as the year goes on. Some new things with with me, I'm working a little bit with Weatherby, just taking some photos for them. So they sent me a rifle. It is the Model 307 Alpine CT. I got it in a 7 PRC, and I literally got that on Saturday. And then when I got back from the first weekend of hunting, I picked it up on Saturday, went and shot it Sunday, sighted it in, shot it out to 600 yards, and then I went and shot it today before we're heading out on the hunt out to 400, and it's shooting great. I was shooting like monster cans that were left out there where I was shooting, and I was shooting, literally hitting them at 400 yards. So um, that's a sweet gun. Really excited about it. Hopefully we can get it on a kill this year. Me and my wife are both going to be carrying guns. So I have my old Christensen 7 PRC, and then I've got this Weatherby. So we're gonna pretty much use the Weatherby as our main gun. But if we do need a second gun or a backup gun for some reason, we've got that Christensen with us as well. But the Weatherby is awesome. Like super cool. The action on it is so clean compared to some other guns that I have. Just really awesome. So um, that's cool. I'm shooting the Hornady. They're the 7 PRC. It's the ELD M's, so the ELD match bullets. I used to shoot the ELD X's, and they just didn't shoot as good out of my Christensen as I wanted them to, and I switched to the ELD M's, and they shot better. So there's probably nothing against them, especially it just kind of depends on the rifle. Some rifles like certain bullets better than others, so it just kind of it doesn't really matter as long as your rifle shoots them good. But these ELDMs shoot great out of both the Christensen and the Weatherby, so I'm shooting those bullets, or the 180 grain bullets. Any other gear? So I've got like kind of some of the new gear that I had this year. The Peak 44 tripod, really been loving it a lot. It's super light. It also comes apart in a trekking pole, so I used that on a elk hunt that I was on a couple weeks ago. Packing out, if you don't have trekking poles, you just unscrew the legs on the tripod, and you got trekking poles. And then the fluid head that it has on that tripod is really nice as well. I've got my 95 Swaro ATX, and it does perfect. I've been running the DJI Lav mic, so the DJI Mic 2 is what they are. And what I'll do is I'll just clip one of the Lav mics onto my bino harness, and then I'll have the receiver on my camera, and they get great audio whenever I need. And I have two receivers, so I can mic up two people at the same time. I haven't used them yet when someone's actually shot something. But that's the kind of the plan this week is like have me mic'd up and my wife mic'd up, and when we shoot something, we've got both the audio, which would be super cool. But that mic is sweet, especially because it comes with a charging thing. It's like AirPods, like you can stick them in the little charging case, and they'll charge while you're out there, so you don't have to worry about if it dies, plug it in and charging it. You've already got a charging case with you, so you just throw the mics in the charging case. And then I always will have a shotgun mic with me, and in fact, I normally have the shotgun mic on the camera most of the time, just because it's faster, easier audio, and I'm not using as much battery on the mic, because my shotgun mic turns on and off automatically with the camera. But when we're in situations where I know that I want a little bit better audio, or two channels of audio on two different people, I'm going to swap to the DJI mics. Yeah, that's about it for kind of recapping right now. So I'm going to be out all week this week for my hunt. We have 2 deer tags, mine and Ellie's, and then we have Ellie's elk tag. And so hoping that those go good this week, and we can at least fill 1 or 2 tags. I'm less worried about filling a tag because there are some archery seasons that open up after the general rifle season, and I'm going to be out all week at the end of October with my brother-in-law, who has a general deer tag. So, and he's a non-resident, so for him to get a tag was pretty cool. And so I've got a lot of time to hunt deer up until the end of the year, so I'm going to be pretty picky. I'm not like too in a rush to shoot something unless it's a really nice buck. But I'd like to get Ellie on a nice buck too, and we don't really want to shoot any small bucks. Just the way that kind of we hunt. There's nothing wrong with it, but we like to kind of just find a more mature deer to harvest, and so hopefully we can find something um, for Ellie and for me. I'm really excited to kind of check out some of the new spots that I was looking at this week or last week. These are spots where they're pretty timbered, but they're open enough timber that you can glass into it and see stuff. But it's places that a lot of people overlook, and it's places where a lot of deer are, especially bucks, are going to be hanging out this time of year. So if you're rifle hunting deer, you just haven't found a ton of deer, try to check some timbered pockets. Or especially at least along timber edges, because those deer are going to be living in the timber, coming out and feeding in the early mornings and late evenings. It's been pretty warm here in Idaho. It's probably the same most places. So those deer are they're gonna bed up pretty early and they're gonna come out pretty late. So it's important to be on that glassing knob before light and stay there until absolute dark and just waiting for deer to come in and out. I have sat on a glassy knob on an evening before until after shooting light, but I could still see barely enough to see a deer come out and come across this clearing into another timber pocket. And the next morning, I came to that exact same spot, and that deer came out with enough light to shoot him, and that was one of my best bucks that I've killed. So, just being vigilant, glassing all day if you have to in spots. This deer are gonna get up and move around, especially big bucks. They might be feeding all night. They might be bedded for most of the morning, and then get up late morning, feed a little bit, and move beds, and you can catch them between that bedding time. Deer are deer. They're just gonna do what they're gonna do. So they might be out early morning. They might be out late morning. They might not even get up till 2 o'clock and feed for an hour in the timber and then go back to bed. Like it could be random. Um, I'm really excited for this week because on Thursday the temperature is supposed to like plummet and it looks like we might get some precip, which means some snow coming in potentially, which would be awesome because hunting in the snow, especially if you give it like a day or two after it snows, like those animals are all going to be out moving around. If it's cloudy, it's good because it's really dark at night, so those animals aren't going to be moving around as much at night, and they're going to be forced to move around more and feed during the day. And animals are easier to spot in the snow, so it's a great thing for hunting. Check your forecast if you are if you see on your forecast that it's going to snow sometime during the season, that's probably the one of the best times to go, and either at that time or after it, because sometimes the deer take a day or two to kind of just get out again, and if you can just stick through it, the deer are going to come out again, and you're going to find stuff. So, um, yeah, thanks to you guys for listening. I definitely keep you updated on how things are going over the next couple of weeks of hunting. I've been super busy, so this podcast is a little bit shorter just because I literally got back home Saturday night. Today's Monday, and I'm leaving again for a hunt this afternoon for all week. So I'm trying to get some stuff for the podcast lined up to where I can get more guests on, and scheduling has just been tough. But I'm still working on it. Hopefully we can get some guests on next week and just get you guys rolling on some more cool stuff. Um, yeah, other than that, I'm just gonna wrap it up with that. I have some new hats that I just got in. I only bought 3 hats, but they have my logo on them. So if you go on like my story that I posted, or let's see, if you go to one of my last posts on Instagram, you'll see some of the hats that we're wearing while we're shooting that new Weatherby. I'm thinking of ordering a bunch and selling them. So if you have any interest in it, definitely let me know, and I will get on that as soon as I can. Um, they're pretty cool hats. I really like them, and a lot of my buddies are like, "Dude, when are you selling those? I want one." So I'm probably going to work on getting a few of those on the Creative Hunter website here in the next couple weeks between hunts. I've also got a new product I'm working on that I'm kind of doing a little teaser on right now. I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but I will say a lot of people are going to want this. Um, It's a product that has never been made in the hunting industry or any industry, and it's game changer. It's actually a game changer. So I'm working on final product designs right now, and I hope within the next 2 weeks I'm gonna get those up and going on the website, get them for sale, and they're gonna be pretty cool. So stay tuned for those. Thanks you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next week.